You know, the biggest shifts in global power, they don't always happen with tanks and armies on a battlefield. Sometimes, the real fight happens quietly, almost invisibly. It happens by rewriting the rules of money. So what if the greatest power struggle of our lifetime isn't about military might at all? What if it's about who controls the flow of money? And what if I told you the playbook for this epic shift was written almost 80 years ago? To really get what China's doing today, we have to rewind the clock back to 1944 to see exactly how America built the financial world we all live in. See, before the US dollar was king of the hill, the British pound sterling ran the world. But its reign didn't just end overnight. No, it was this long, slow, calculated decline. And along the way, America helped orchestrate it. Now, you might think World War II was the final nail in the coffin. But the truth is, this shift started way earlier. Just look at the timeline. By 1929, a full decade before the war, the dollar had already overtaken the pound, where it really counts, in the global bond markets. Britain, of course, tried to fight back. They created this sterling area to basically force their territories to keep using the pound. But honestly, the writing was on the wall. The world's financial center of gravity was already on the move. And this all came to a head in 1944 at a quiet hotel in New Hampshire. It was a showdown. On one side, you had Britain's superstar economist, John Maynard Keynes. He was representing a country drowning in debt, and he wanted a totally neutral world currency, something to create balance. But on the other side, you had America's guy, Harry Dexter White, and he represented the world's new creditor. His goal wasn't balance, it was dominance. And this little quote, this shows you exactly how they pulled it off. In the final hours of the conference, White's team made this tiny, subtle change to the agreement. By simply adding the words "and US dollars" right after the word gold, they legally made the dollar as good as gold. It was a brilliant, almost stealthy move that literally put the US dollar at the foundation of the entire global economy. Okay, so that was the American playbook. Now let's fast forward to today and see how China is running a 21st century version of that exact play. And they're starting not with banks, but with bricks, steel, and concrete. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many ports around the world China has either financed or taken control of. And this isn't just random investing. Oh no, this is a very deliberate strategy to control the physical arteries of global trade. And here's the really crucial part. This isn't just about ships docking. It's about building entire supply chains that China controls from start to finish. They use this port, railway, mine model. What does that mean? It means they control the port, they control the railway connecting to it, and they control the mine or the factory at the other end. Plus, these ports have what's called dual-use potential, which is a subtle way of saying they can support naval operations, securing the very supply lines for goods that will eventually be traded in their own currency. So controlling the physical world, that's step one. Step two is all about trust. Just like America backed its dollar with gold to build confidence, China is building its own foundation of trust with, you guessed it, the oldest money in the world. Now, you look at this chart, and at first glance you think, okay, the US is way, way ahead. And they are. But the most important thing on this chart isn't the total number, it's the rate of change. The real story is that China is buying up gold faster than any other major economy on the planet. So why are they doing that? Because this frantic buying sends a very powerful signal. It's a message to the rest of the world, especially other developing nations, that China is dead serious about building a financial system that is not dependent on the US dollar. It's a strategic move to build up credibility, to anchor their currency in a hard asset, getting ready for a post-dollar world. All right, so you've got the physical trade routes locked down. You have the hard asset anchor, gold. The final piece of this giant puzzle, and maybe the most critical, is to build a whole new set of financial pipes that can bypass the American system completely. Let's be honest, the US dollar's real superpower comes from controlling the world's financial plumbing. Systems like SWIFT. This is what allows the US to enforce sanctions. China's answer to that is something called CIPS, and it's designed from the ground up to do one key thing: let countries trade with each other using the Chinese renminbi, totally avoiding the US dollar, and more importantly, any potential US sanctions. And they're not just playing catch-up. They're trying to leapfrog the old system entirely. With projects like mBridge, they're using these new central bank digital currencies to let countries pay each other instantly without ever needing to go through the traditional banking network. Think about it. It's a 21st century version of Bretton Woods, but this time it's being built on a blockchain, not in a hotel. So when you put all these pieces together, what does it actually mean for the future? Well, it probably means we're moving away from a world dominated by just one currency to a world that has several major players. This all gets at a classic economic trap called the Triffin dilemma. Basically, to be the world's currency, America has to keep pumping dollars out into the world, which means constantly buying more stuff than it sells and running these huge deficits. China is trying to flip that whole idea on its head. Instead of being the world's biggest buyer, it wants to be the world's biggest lender, injecting its currency into the global economy through these massive infrastructure projects. So let's be really clear. The key takeaway here isn't that the dollar is going to collapse tomorrow. It's about a long strategic challenge. China is meticulously, piece by piece, building an entire parallel ecosystem. They're securing the physical trade routes, they're backing their currency with gold, and they're engineering new financial plumbing to bypass the dollar. The goal isn't even necessarily to replace the dollar, but to create a world where it's no longer the only game in town. And that leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question. The events of 1944 created a single dominant financial system. So, are the quiet strategic moves happening today creating a future that has many systems? We are living through a fundamental rewiring of the global economy. And the crazy part is, the blueprint is 80 years old.